All right, so your question was Bootstrap, basically having trouble making it work. In Zybooks, I back up here, in Chapter 6, where it talks about Bootstrap, if you click on that right there, there's a button right in here, right in the text, that takes you to the page where you get it. Because Bootstrap is nothing more than CSS. That's all it is. And so you link to it using the link href, just like we've done other CSS.
So do you need a CSS file?
Well, yes. You do need to download that CSS file. And this right here, everything in here will tell you how to do that. All right. I didn't provide instructions because it's all right there. And once you've got it in there, you can access all of the CSS that's available to you. It's really powerful.
Basically, Bootstrap adds a bunch of classes.
Yeah, a tremendous amount. Yeah, a tremendous amount of pre-built CSS.
I'm not a huge fan.
It does. It works. If you don't want to go through the hassle of building a lot of CSS on your own, Bootstrap makes it real easy for you. There's a lot of stuff on there. They've got content that you can build into columns, which is super useful, and it does responsive design for you. So you build it in one page and use your CSS. You grab the browser and you drag it to the left. It does all your media queries for you. Looks good in many, many different formats. So that's the advantage of Bootstrap. Once you learn it, you may fall in love with it. I hated it at first, then I understood its value. It took me a minute.
I hate it right now.
What's what?
The work Bootstrap was
What
beautiful.
I've always done and stuff, I just line it. It's so much easier to see.
Sure, right. If you get really good at CSS, you don't need Bootstrap. If you're kind of in that middle ground where you're starting to understand it, but you're still frustrated with it, Bootstrap may be a great tool for you.
It depends on what kind of pages you're building.
Yeah.
You just build one or two custom pages.
No.
It's overkill.
Right. It would be overkill. Exactly. Okay, so that's Bootstrap. I'm going to go ahead and close these up. All right, if you have not already started on the week 7 in-class work, which we did on Tuesday, click on that, download the files, and watch the video. We're going to continue on from where we left off. So I need to go and get my files, which I stored on the K drive, maybe unwisely. Hopefully they're still there. Week 7, yay, there it is. And then go grab CS 251 and Sublime. There we go. Anyway, we don't focus on Bootstrap, but you really do need to know it's there. Go. No, yes. Run it. Guess I have to go this way. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have a bunch of content in here. I'm going to go ahead and open this up so we can see what it looks like at this point. Bunch of unformatted stuff. This is our creature feature. All right, so we've got a lot of content in here, but we don't have any CSS. And we need to build our basic page. Now, in the Zybooks, they give you the advice when you're going to build for mobile, or if you're going to build for adaptive or responsive web pages, build the big one first, and then build the smaller ones as you go. Okay? So if you start small and you're thinking mobile first, when you hear that term mobile first, what they're talking about is a philosophy. Okay? It doesn't mean build your mobile web page first, but you have to think in terms of what is this going to look like when I make it cell phone sized. It needs to work in a cell phone no matter what my other pages look like. Okay? Does that make sense? It's a kind of a philosophy, and you will hear it the more you're in web design. It doesn't mean build it first. It just means keep that in mind. It must work in mobile. Okay? And it really does, because the number of page hits, I've seen two graphics that compete with one another. One is mobile use has outstripped browser use. The other one is like this, where one's about to reach the other. Okay, but basically mobile's on its way up. Okay, so you have to design for cell phones. That's just the reality. Okay, so we are almost done with our elements on the page. The only last thing that we're going to get in here is a footer. So let's see, we got our ads in there. So at the very end, I've got a footer. I'm going to go ahead and type into there copy. Oh, I need to make it bigger, don't I? Sorry, guys. Here we go. Better? Can you read that? Okay. Copyright. Anybody remember the entity for the copyright symbol? Well, that's an obscure one. Anybody but Mike, I mean. Okay. Okay. It's the ampersand, copy, semicolon. That makes the copyright symbol, that C with a circle around it. Okay. Copyrights. Let's say 2019, period. And for fun, copyright will be enforced with violent prejudice. Because they're monsters. Have a nice day. That's the last bit of actual content that we're going to get in there. All right, now we're going to need a CSS style sheet. Let's make sure we've got the link up here for it. There we go. So if yours doesn't have the link with the href on there, make sure that that goes in there, probably right after the title. It's a good place to put that. And let's create a new CSS document. Let's save it as styles.css. Make sure that it is that style or the file type. Make sure it's got the CSS on it, and save it. Okay. First line is always what? Does anybody remember? At charset, and in quotes what? UTF-8. Straight UTF-8 will probably give you something else. And don't forget that semicolon. That semicolon right there will cause you problems.
Yeah.
If you forget that one, that's a problem. Okay, now, as you well know, this is my standard way of going about things. I create a style for everything and put a border in there. Thin, solid, black. going to go ahead and give a background color to my body. And that is going to be number 124173. Everybody understands what we just wrote up there, right? There's nobody who got lost in what we're trying to do right there, right? Okay. All right. What's that? Maybe. I don't know. Everybody knows by now. Okay. I'm glad. What did you say, Emery? Oh, you're still typing. Okay. All right, in order to center your wrapper on the page, what two things do you need? Not Mike. Width and, that's one. Anybody else remember? Two things. Huh? Margin of, I think I heard it. Auto, right? On the left and right. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and make our wrapper. Oops, not warper. Wrapper. Going to go ahead and give it a width of 80%. Give it a background color to differentiate it from our body color. And that will be number EBD 9C0. And then we've got our margin. Now if I just put two numbers in there, what have I just declared? Alec? Top, bottom, left, right. So top, bottom is this one? Top and bottom, left and right. Okay, perfect. I could put four numbers in there, and then you'd have what? Top, right, bottom, left. Right? Trouble. Everybody remember trouble? Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And if you use three numbers, then it's top, bottom, left, right, left.
Is it? Okay. I don't think I've done that. It's
very uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, I would see why. All right, so I'm going to go back to my browser. And voila! That's starting to look like a web page. All right. So let's see, Jason, you started off from 0, didn't you? Or did you have this done?
I got it done.
Good. Okay. Excellent. All right, let's go back to my text.
I think I missed the footer and home footer.
Well, we just did that now.
Yeah.
Just now. Okay.
That's the reason why.
Okay. All right, so wrapper, we're going to go ahead and give ourselves a header rule. Go ahead and give a background color. C6. Oops, not that. 6, 3C6. AA8. Okay, I'm going to, because it's on kind of a medium blue background, I'm going to give a text color of white, which I felt was a little bit more readable. I'm going to give my header a minimum height of 130 pixels. And make sure that no other graphic is sitting beside it. This will help in my layout. Sometimes if you're not careful, You'll create some element and another one will kick up into it. It's weird when it happens, but clear both should take care of it. I say should because CSS. Oh, put a number symbol in before the one. Right here. Yep. Okay. That should do it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Excellent. All right, let's give ourselves a little bit of styling for my header. Header H1. I'm going to tell it to be specific. I'm going to give it a margin of 1.5 m, 0.25 m, 0, and 0.25 m. Oops, not that kind of 0. That kind of 0. Right. You might be thinking, Richardson, that is really oddly specific. And that's because I'm trying to save you some of the pain of what was happening when I was designing this assignment. When I put a bottom one on here, it started causing problems. Okay, so I just set my margin at 0 so that when I narrow up my window and it kicks down to 2 lines, it doesn't destroy my page. Because that's the sort of thing that happens with CSS. Destroyed it. Just made loud sounds. All right, so if we go ahead and save that and take a look, it's getting there. All right, so we need to make sure that these 3 elements, the navigation, this headline, and this logo are all sitting up here in the header. So the next 3 rules are going to deal with that. Okay. You got that so far? Okay. All right, next is logo, not ogo, logo. Okay, so how do we get the elements to sit next to each other? Anybody remember what we set the display to? What is it? Inline block, right. Okay, I'm going to give that element a width, say 20%. Now, what that means is the width for that logo, the box that surrounds the logo, is going to be 20% of the width of my object here, or my page. When I make it narrower, I don't want it to get any smaller than the actual width of my logo. I don't want my logo to shrink. Okay? You might like to. I mean, you might make designs that do that. I don't want it to shrink until really when it becomes very narrow. So I'm going to set a minimum width of 151 pixels, which is the actual width of the logo. I want to force that whole thing to float left. And I want to give it a wee bit of margin all the way around it so it's got some breathing room. Set that at 0.7 m. Right. Okay. Let's see here. Now I'm going to do my headline next. Headline. This right here is the box that holds my headline. The headline is actually in an H1, but this is going to control the box that holds my headline. And I'm going to change that also to display of inline block. Anybody know the difference between inline and inline block? Anybody run across that?
Inline's going to adjust for just the content that's in it.
Yes.
Block, it will make it whatever you're doing with it. You have to set width or you're not.
If you set a width with inline, it doesn't even work. It just basically, it shrinks to whatever your content is. All right, but with inline block, I can force it to actually have a width to it. And that's what we'll do right now, is give it a width of 70%. I'm going to float this bad boy left also. And within my text box, I want to keep it all centered. So I'm going to text align center. Oh, okay, thanks. Let's go ahead and, well, I'll leave you to type that, and then we'll look at the page.
Logo is 150 or 151?
151, I think. Pretty sure that's right. Yes, sir.
So, actually, I have a question regarding stuff before headline logo.
Okay.
Apparently, my header is not working as intended.
Okay. So, all right. So you've got header, right? Is this all what you got in your? Okay. Yeah, you got your semicolons in the right spot and colons. You don't have any equals in there, right? Because that will throw it off.
It looks exact.
Is your HTML correct? Make sure you've got an opening and closing tag for your header.
I'm pretty sure I got that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got all that right. I pretty much followed the video.
So here's what I've got for header.
And yeah, everything looks fine. It's just that header. Yeah, it's just the header is not doing what I wanted to.
Is your browser width very wide?
Really?
Oh, my.
It didn't come up on the line.
Okay, then it works on. Okay, so apparently it's just not working on Firefox.
Oh, huh? Is that what it is? Dang it. Try making the width of the header a little bit narrower. So on the headline here, Jason, if you're using Firefox, rather maybe try making that a little narrower. For the headline. I'm sorry. Let's see, header. Headline. Yeah, headline right there. Because those two elements are what make up the space on there. Take up the space. Okay, so I misspoke earlier about getting that that unordered list right here up on this header. What we're actually going to do is we're going to create a horizontal navigation, because this is something that you are going to eventually run into, is having to create a horizontal navigation. And you can do it with unordered lists. There's no reason you can't. Right? So does everybody have something that looks kind of sort of roughly like this? Everything's working? Okay. Excellent. You're like Richardson, get on with it. Okay. So in order to create a horizontal navigation, we're going to go ahead and start with our nav. We're going to set the width to 100%. That means the box that is holding it goes all the way across from wrapper edge to wrapper edge. I want to center my content, so this will be text align center. And I want to give it a background of its own. And that's going to be E9A34A. So far, nothing has happened to make it look like an actual horizontal nav, except that we have a background in it and it's centered everything up. You have to actually work with the unordered list and the list items. Got that? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and make our nav UL. Also going to set that to a width of 100%. I want a margin of 0, padding of 0, and this one is important. If I don't want that to be a bulleted list, I have to change the list style to none. That gets rid of the bullets right there. Okay. So far, so good? Okay. Nope. No, it's a lowercase L. It does look that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lowercase. It's just got a little tail on it. All right, so this is what we should have now. Hey, that's looking better, right? We took off any kind of margin and padding, which means it's, and we've made it as wide as that, so that it fits, it conforms really well into that space. The next and most crucial step for doing the horizontal nav comes next. So we've got to work with the list items in that. And this is it right here. Inline block. Okay, so there's the magic right there. What that does is it creates a box around each of those and sits them side by each. Right, now I'm going to give them a width, individual width. I'm going to do 29%. See how Firefox blows this up, Mike. You're going to have to do acrobatics. All right, I'm going to force the text within the inline blocks to center. So I want text align, center, and give it all just a little bit of padding inside each box. That's a curious thing to me.
Can you give the unordered list tag an ID?
Yeah.
So instead of saying nav
Yeah.
unordered list, you could just say
Yep.
whatever its ID is.
Yep. Yeah.
Same with the list items.
If that you could, yeah,
So can you give any tag an ID?
pretty much.
As long as you
Yeah.
things like meta tags, things that are in the header, not necessarily, but
Right.
usually you can.
Right.
Yeah. Any object that you want to format with CSS, I can't think of one that you couldn't apply it to.
You can actually put an ID on your HTML tag.
Can you? I don't know why you would want to. Is there a reason that you would want to do that?
Or some of the old ways of doing drop-down lists, so you knew which page you're on, so you show which tab. In all the pages with different tabs.
Okay.
They changed that per page.
I see.
And then the selectors would select the right tab.
Okay.
Usually they could
Or if you want to generate your entire page for JavaScript, just check it in your HTML tags. Your whole website's just one HTML tag, and you inject whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's another thing.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
not recommended.
I've never seen it, but you know that doesn't mean anything. All right. So now when I refresh my page, I should get something like that, which looks remarkably like horizontal navigation. So those are the things that you've got to do to make a horizontal nav. Okay. And I'm sure that you'll run into it at some point or another. All right. So now let us continue doing our CSS for the rest of the elements on the page. I'm going to do my creature feature. Now my creature feature, I want to just look back here at my HTML. My creature feature's got an ID. There we go. So this is that big block, right? It's that whole block of stuff that's in here, all right? Everything that's inside this is your creature feature. Huh? I did type. It's an ID, right? Exactly. All right. So I'm going to go back to my styles creature feature and display it as inline block. Give it a width of 65%. Now this is separate from the advertisements. Okay, so the creature feature has the photo in it, it's got the text, and it's got the links. The aside will have the ads in it. Okay, that's why we're giving it a width of 65%. And then give it a margin of 1em. So now, this should give you a little bit of an idea of what happens when you sell ad space on a website. You don't get to just go take those ads and make them whatever width works in your document, because you will have sold them a particular size. Okay, so you might be working with this stretchy web page that all the stuff accommodates and switches into place, but those ads may have to stay the same size. Well, how do you do that? That's pretty crazy. Well, you got to work it. I don't know of an easy way to do it, so I'm going to show you the only way I am aware of. So we'll do an aside here. This is our aside area. This is where our ads are going to go. All right, I'm going to make that also a display of inline block. Move it up. And I'm going to give it a fixed width of 240 pixels. Oops, pixels. I'm going to give it a margin of 12 pixels top and bottom, and 0 left and right. And I want this to float to the right side of the page. So I got creature feature, that's my story, floating to the left. Got my aside floating to the right. That's fine. Well, it's an indicator I need to get out of the way. What was it?
On the divide around the logo, we can at least define that's
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, because it wasn't floating left. That's probably why.
without that. If you also floating, you try clearing.
Right. Yep. That makes sense. Okay.
As soon as I had that, notice that when you're looking,
Wait a minute. Okay. So, did everybody get something that looks kind of sort of like this? Yes. But it's below. Is your browser really wide? Make it as wide as you can. Okay. All right. We're going to fix that. We're going to spend a little while fixing that massive problem. Yeah, so go ahead and do this. Take your browser and begin narrowing it up. All right, so you see here what happens, bam, what happened is exactly what Sam is talking about. That CSS is awesome right there. There's the example of CSS just being awesome. Kicking it down below the other content. Huh? It doesn't fit there, so let's make it fit. Right? That's exactly the problem that we are trying to solve with media queries. This is the exact problem. Okay? So you just never know what crazy thing that users are going to be doing with your page, what they're going to be looking at the page on. So we've got a nice browser here. When it's big, I'm a little bit curious why my image is not popping to the left of my text. Are we going to fix that in a second? Oh, yes, we are. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do next. All right, so when you sell ad space, you're probably going to be selling a fixed width space on the page, and you probably want the content elsewhere to expand and contract. And you think, why don't we just set up some standards and create, web pages that don't do this kind of crazy thing? And this is what I would argue. This right here, that fixed width piece, is job security. Right? You need designers to make this work, which is nice. So, as much of a pain in the butt as it is, this is why you get paid the big bucks, right? To make it all work. All right. So let's go back here. What I want, one of the things that I want is I want my text to flow into this space. So I don't have a rule for that yet. I'm going to go back into my CSS. And that is my creature feature image. I'm going to give it a width which is smaller. And this is going to expand and contract with the browser width. And that's fine. I don't mind that. But here's the key piece that's going to allow it to the text to float around it. Is that right there, allowing it to float. Float it left. I could float it right if I wanted to. You're welcome to try that if you'd like. So in theory, that should fix my text flow problem. There we go. Oh, we got a problem there, don't we? Looks. Yeah, fixed one thing, created another problem. Exactly. You got two problems? Oh yeah, you've got two problems. Exactly. Yeah, we got a couple of problems. Right. Okay. So we did, if you'll remember, in our things right here. Did we? Yeah. Yeah. That's a great joke. Huh? So, okay, so what is not kicking down? Okay, go back to your CSS. Yeah. So you saved this, okay, and then you refresh the other page, right? Huh. Oh, put a hashtag, hash sign in front of the creature feature because it's an ID. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we got a couple of problems. Okay, good. And you can see when you move this, you can see our image is only 55%, so it resizes itself, which is nice, right? That is part of our responsive design. Now, we're going to add to our CSS our creature links. All right, what I want my creature links to do is I want to clear this and pop down beneath my image. Okay, so what that means is I've got to go back and I've got to go into my HTML, find my creature links here. All right, so if you can find the link that says DeAndre Monster bites a piano in half, that unordered list I'm going to give an ID to. And I'm going to call that creature links. Oops, ID equals, in quotes, creature links. Go back into my CSS styles and give it a rule. Now, in order to get it to kick down below the photo, what do you think I need to use? What is it? You could do clear both. Could do clear left. I'm going to do clear left for variety. I've got the image on my left, and I just want to clear it from the left. So let's give that a try. Clear left. There we go. Did your clear both work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I missed this.
Okay. Creature links. I made it clear left. Did you get the ID in on your links?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So in the HTML here for those links there, I gave the UL an ID of creature links. Yeah, so the two have to go together. If you don't have an ID in there, your CSS rule has nothing to connect to. Good. All right. So let's see how far we can get. All right, we got that. So now, next thing is, you can see, in some cases, if I pull this out, if I get this smaller, you can see that my content here is overrunning my wrapper. Everybody's doing that? Yeah. Okay, good. And by good, I mean, that's too bad. We're going to fix that now. We got to get into the main. Did we make a main rule yet? Not there yet? Okay. We need to tell it that when it overflows with content, we want it to handle it automatically. Oh, I'm going to do it autoflow Y. Sorry. This is going to only be on the vertical axis. All right, overflow Y. Take care of it that way. It's going to automatically handle it. What that might mean is the wrapper will come down and cover it. It also might mean that it's going to hide it and put a scroll bar on it. Okay, it's going to automatically handle that. It's not as pretty. You're right. Yeah. Yes, exactly right. And even when it gets to there, that's a problem, right? And we're out of time. All right. On Tuesday, we should be able to finish up the CSS and then start hammering away at the media queries. We're going to get lots of practice on that on Tuesday. After that,
Done with this, doesn't need to be turned in.
we're going to turn it in on Tuesday. Just turn in the completed one. Yeah. On Thursday of next week, we're going to start applying JavaScript in our browser, which is so much fun and may make some of you so crazy. Crazy as in you need to be institutionalized. It's going to be fine, I say optimistically. Okay.